Okay. Um, so thank you all for joining. I think we'll just still have a few folks coming in right now. Keep an eye on it though. Let's see, we have made it we're this Friday, I guess. Tomorrow, happy Halloween, everybody. And then on Friday we'll have our November Housing Stability Council meeting. And so I think kind of just wanted to walk through what we have introducing into Housing Stability Council on Friday and see what other questions folks have. So let's see, we have a pretty packed agenda for affordable rental housing, or ARH. And we will be, let's see, Ed will be bringing forward funding recommendations from the small project and veterans NOFA process. So we'll be bringing a slate of projects through that fund offering. We will then be bringing an increase resource need to address a funding gap while under construction for the Molalla 1 and 2 projects, which we have been able we're recommending to put additional lift resources in there, as both projects were under the per unit subsidy from their resource offering, so we can increase within our programmatic limits. Then Britt and Rick will be bringing forward the modular investment framework. And I think I actually mentioned this last month, thinking that we were going to bring it then, but we've now finalized and are bringing it to recommendations. And so this is kind of a different type of resource for us to be putting out, but it's essentially to go to companies that are production facilities for modular housing, with the idea that the resources should help expand the impact of those businesses and will help to bring connections into their use for either disaster recovery or affordable housing use, to try to prioritize that type of development. And I didn't coordinate ahead, but Rick or Britt, did you have any other things you wanted to mention around that modular framework? There's been a bunch of engagement that y'all have done, so I think it's a different audience generally than this group, but any thoughts, Rick?
Nothing
Oh,
to add, but happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, maybe I'll pause here. Any questions?
I think I might just add that I think assuming Housing Stability Council approval, there is a possibility, if you're interested in these funds, that the RFA could go out as soon as November. So if you're interested in the funds, be sure to sign up for our technical advisories. You probably already are if you're on this call, but that's how we will announce that the RFA is open, and probably again have that sometime in November, assuming council approves.
Great. Any questions? Okay.
Sorry,
Oh,
I do have a question. This is my first meeting. So in regards to what he was just talking about, can he explain a little bit about that? Because we've been trying already for 3 years, me and my husband, working with Access. That's the only one that we've been working with. But it's like, okay, we're right there. And then, next day, it's like, no, we don't have no funding. It's like, well, we were just going to go and sign the papers at 11. Well, we don't have the funding anymore. This has been going on for 3 years. So we're still in a parking lot with our fifth wheel.
Yeah, so the modular investment is really an investment in manufacturers. It's designed to expand to expand the capacity of manufacturers of modular homes. So it won't go directly to users. It's really designed for folks that are currently manufacturing modular to help them manufacture more quicker, or for a new plant to start up and start manufacturing maybe in an innovative or new way or new design. So the hope being that if we stimulate that, the manufacturers, there'll be more homes available to folks at hopefully a less price. So it's more of a trickle down effect to the end user, but these funds are specific to manufacturers. Hopefully that answers your
Okay.
question.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. And then I'm gonna paste in the chat just the link to the Housing Stability Council packet. I was gonna find the actual page number. It looks like the modular framework memo and materials start on page 40. Let's see. I see from the chat. Kim, you have a question. Is it around the modular investment or?
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Yeah, my name is Kim. This is my first time seeing this, so I'm kind of curious. I read the email capture under you say for the small project, funding for a small project. And what do you mean small? Like how many units usually?
Yeah, so this was a resource offering we've just finished. It opened earlier, a few months ago, or I'm gonna say in July or around July probably. And so it was intended to fund projects, I believe, under around 40 units or veterans projects. And so that's a kind of completed resource offering. And so we are making recommendations coming out of that. And so within the Housing Stability Council packet, you can see kind of the write-ups of all of those projects being recommended for funding.
Okay, thank you.
Great. And so then the other couple things, so those are all things that we're hoping to get Housing Stability Council votes on to approve those projects through the NOFA and then and the resources for Malawa, and then adopt that framework so that we can move to finalizing an RFA for that, so that organizations that do that modular production can access those resources. And then we will be introducing our PSH risk mitigation pool framework for Housing Stability Council input. And so this is another new legislative investment to support permanent supportive housing projects within our portfolio, and intended to address needs at the project level that would kind of lessen the reliance, I don't know if that's the right phrasing, on insurance and other aspects of operating permanent supportive housing to try to mitigate the risk to project operations. Rick, do you want to mention anything? Apologize for not touching base with you before, but I think you can probably speak it off the top of your head.
Yeah, no worries. So this is, as you mentioned, Natasha, this is the introduction. We'll probably go back to council sometime in January. We at the January meeting, I guess is what I was trying to say there. We've done a lot of engagement on this particular funding source. Up to this point, we probably might have one or two more between now and the final docs. And what the risk mitigation pool, as you mentioned, is really designed for is to help support operations around permanent supportive housing. We kind of have 4 criteria that we're introducing around that. First of all, you have to be funded by OHCS, and so it has to be in our affordable affordable restrictions have to be on the property, has to be, the PSH unit has to have rent assistance on it. It has to have supportive services, and it will have to use coordinated entry. So those are kind of the four main criteria to be eligible. And it's really designed to kind of defray insurance claims. We know that due to higher acuity with PSH tenants, that sometimes the damages and costs are higher. And so this is hopefully will defray some of those costs and maybe lessen any insurance claims, which hopefully will also limit higher insurance rates for folks. There's similar risk mitigation funds in Portland now. We're very much aligning with what Portland Housing Bureau currently has, just doing it on a statewide level. So yeah, just going to introduce it and see what kind of feedback we get from council and go from there.
Great. Any questions on that framework? There's still so these are draft. So I see in the chat, Mary Rain, your question on the PSH risk mitigation resources, which is different. I did see that in stabilization, there's some form of a landlord or a guarantee program, which is different than this. This is around our PSH portfolio, and these are draft. And so I think, as Rick indicated, we're hoping to bring it this month to get their input. There's probably another, there's been a bunch of engagement leading up to this draft, and we'll probably have something else queued up to finalize it, hoping that we are bringing it to be finalized in January, which, and I think hoping that then we are operating the program, you know, at the end of the first quarter, ideally, of 2024. Yeah. Awesome. Great. And then I think, you know, then lastly, we'll just be kind of do just engagement discussion with Housing Stability Council around our all of the NOFA engagement. I know a lot of you all have been engaging in that work with us, and so we are, you know, just moving forward in that conversation, and we'll be you know, sharing with them more about what we are hearing, and what we are kind of looking toward, getting their input into where we start to transition to making recommendations around our NOFA processes and frameworks, with really processes, that funding calendar, which we're hoping to get into place at the end of the year, beginning of next year, and then also what the kind of set asides and all of those perspectives are on it. So we'll just be continuing that conversation, reporting out to them, you know, what we have learned since we last had this check-in with them last month. And I think I will also just mention, as I'm talking about the NOFA process, we did have engagement last week, which was had so much really helpful feedback. So really appreciate that. We are actively working to bring all of that together, and are hoping, we're working on, you know, getting what we want to November 9th as our next engagement on that. And our aim is to be able to share back with you what we are hearing, what we are thinking, and what we're moving toward. It's all, you know, as they say, building the plane while you're flying it. So these are, again, not decisions that we had already pinned down. So are really in live time trying to get to some, you know, next step thoughts to be able to circulate those back out with you all next week on the 9th, and there will be more to come. I think we're, you know, obviously this is a complex puzzle and process to be able to identify how we are bringing all of these different resources under one centralized application and setting up a structure that allows us to balance the needs from the state as well as the development community, and really make big impact with the incredible investment and resources from the legislature. So really excited for that and to be able to move this conversation forward with Housing Stability Council. And so that's really, you know, the essentially what we'll be talking about on Friday with Housing Stability Council. Any questions about any of that? Okay, and then otherwise we are kind of in the place of wrapping up remaining fund offerings for this calendar year. Again, the small project and veterans NOFA is coming forward to Housing Stability Council. I believe we just had our home ARP or Home American Rescue Plan resources, that NOFA close. And I believe the 9% NOFA is getting close to closing. And I might just ask Roberto, if you don't mind saying a few things on those resource offerings.
Sure, yeah. So the 9% NOFA that is open for anyone that if we did provide an extension for the final applications for November the 13th. I believe also last Friday we issued a technical advisory notification. We've been notified or advised that there's some formula errors in some of the worksheets. So if you are working on a 9% NOFA, we're asking that you submit to us through your work center, that you send that application internally. We'll work on the fixes and the updates, and we'll put it back in the work center so that you can complete your application. So instead of fixing it here and then put it back and for you to download and start all over, we're asking if you can send it in. If you did not get that technical advisory about these formula errors and fixes, do let us know, because it's important that we were able to fix them. Otherwise, you may be working with a faulty worksheet. On project specific, you can always reach out to us through the MF NOFA email, or the frequently asked questions. So we're still intent in keeping that deadline of November 13th. But again, those fixes, we would like to do them if you could send and put your unfinished application in your work center. The next one is the 4%. Also on Friday, the application intake it closed on Friday. We ended up with a total of 24 intakes, and all of them total asking for $700 million in private activity bond financing. Now that we've got that list of 24 applications, we'll go through them, assign the production analyst to them with them, the allocated or requested PAB, and then come out in December, all of that in December, come out with a list of those that applied for this, so that you can see who's coming in. Again, remember that we're trying to do all of this around in decompressing the pipeline that we still have. Believe it or not, it is still a really oversubscribed resources there, but it's our intent that by next month we should have a list of reviewed intakes and get you your letter or a final or full acceptance of your request and work through there. And then Natasha did mention about the home ARP that also closed on Friday, and that comes along with the capacity building that we'll offer through that NOFA. So between the 4%, the home ARP staff now starts the reviewing process, and then we'll wait when the 9% comes in and start the work there as well. So I think with this, at least 9%, 4%, we're closing out the year with those NOFAs. And I think some of the staff are also here if there's anything I'm missing, but that's the overview of where we are.
Great. And see, Roberto, I see a chat from Shelley, just wondering if we can follow up with her to let her know when she'll get the application fix document back. It sounded like it was submitted earlier. And it looks like John, Kim Travis has just posted the link to sign up for the technical advisory. So that's how our email lists are managed. And then Karen, let's see, so the question in the chat for those, I realize some people are on the phone. And so the question is, let's see, is the plan to preview the 2024 funding calendar on Friday with Housing Stability Council? And if not, when do you anticipate having that ready to share? I don't think that we will have a full draft of a funding calendar on Friday. I do think I will be trying to elevate the input that we have received around the set-asides and the subsidy limits, which are going to need to inform how we go about distributing resources to get Housing Stability Council input. And so I'm hopeful that we are introducing that level of detail in the December conversation. Again, it'll not be final at that point, but I'm hoping as soon as we have something that we can be sharing it broadly to make sure that we're getting feedback on it before we aim to finalize. Let's see.
On the
Oh, go ahead, Roberto.
Natasha, I was going to on the advisory on the fixes to the formulas. We're giving applicants November 1st to put it in your work center. And our plan and intent is to turn them back out and put them back fixed by November 3rd, which is Friday. Unless I think I saw Jackie, unless Jackie, if I'm stating those dates wrong, please do.
Yeah, I think it sounds like Shelley's question is probably if she's done it earlier than that, is there an earlier turnaround on?
I don't believe that there will be an earlier turnaround because I believe they'll be working on those fixes all at once.
Thank you. Great. And let's see. I mean, I think that that is kind of the bulk of what kind of big happenings that we have been having. I do, I guess, just share back in again, Roberto's heads up, but let's see, Roberto attended, Claudia put together an MWSB convening out in Talent, Oregon. I was gonna say it was last week, but I think it might have been the week before that because time flies. Which was really exciting to be able to hold that in person and out in community. I don't know, Roberto, if you have any reflections on that, or if Claudia's on. That's been a really big, important body of work that it's really nice to see come to this place.
Well, I can let Claudia go first if she's on, but I can't see her.
I don't see her, so I apologize.
Yeah,
Again,
that's okay.
Well.
But otherwise, I think so. Our first trying to get out where people are, and so with the MWSB work and initiative, we held the first in-person gathering for the Southern Oregon region, for developers, for general contractors, for consultants. We had a group of about 10 people that were able to participate. But it's really great to be there to hear and then trying to come out also collectively with solutions to some of the challenges about COVID and certified businesses and some of the approaches that we can come out with that. So it's always good to hear on the ground, again, what we need, what we could do differently in the processes that we have, the requirements that we have. And so I think that was our first try. It was a learning experience, meaning how and what we can do differently. Because into the next year, we do plan take it also to Central Oregon and Eastern Oregon as well. So we want to be out there having that conversation with you. It's that it could be challenging a lot, and we recognize that, meaning getting certified or getting women minority-owned businesses to be part of the construction. But as we said with the folks in Southern Oregon, we recognize that, and we want to be able to also be partners in the solutions with it. I think in all of them, we would like to bring the Business Oregon and the COVID office be able to talk about their processes, what they might be doing in order to make it easier or differently for folks to sign up. I think that what's helping in a lot of areas, and some of our partners on this call are able to do it, we are recognizing and accepting that it's not only certified firms, but also non-certified and self-identified businesses as well. Because the intent of all of the initiative is really seeing, again, women, minority-owned businesses to be part of it. If they have certification, great. If they don't, but that they are part of the industry, I think that's what we're trying to get to. And some of our again, colleagues or partners on this call are part of a working group. So we appreciate their time and insights into how we can do this better.
Right, any questions on that? Any other questions about anything? So I guess one other thing that just occurred to me to connect the dots. We're still in the process of evaluation, and so don't have our strategy developed, but we are understanding the HUD transition to the Inspire compliance process, and so are putting together a strategy, and so we'll be planning to communicate what our strategy is and include engagement and conversation around this. And so this will essentially change the compliance protocols that we need to use when we're visiting properties. So I just want to elevate both that it could, it does have real impacts to the work that we do, and surely also the work that you all do when owning and operating a property. But so we'll plan to be looping back, provide regular updates in this forum, and certainly also put together some other conversations around that, so that we're making sure to be working together on that. Let's see, and then Kim, I see your question in the chat. Is there a deadline for submittal lift for 2024? That'll be included on our funding calendar when we are releasing resources and when they're due. So just a little bit too early still to answer that question. Any other questions, curiosities? I will also offer that we, as we are staffing up to be able to implement change, we are pretty regularly putting out job postings. So please make sure to follow along and check out our job postings as we make them, and if you want to join the Team OHCS in delivering resources out to community. Okay, I think that's my practice patience of silence. With that, we can close this month's partner call. Appreciate you all, and we'll see you next month.